Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be taking a close look at the 2016-17 season, and more specifically the squad for Celtic Football Club. The year where the club went invincible. The year we won the treble without losing a single domestic game. One of the most famous and historic years in the club's history. But of course, since then, we have changed so much, with Tom Rogic looking like he'll leave the club any time soon, with a move perhaps to Qatar. It makes you wonder, what happened to the squad? What happened to that famous team that beat Aberdeen 2-1 at Hampden with a 90th minute Tom Rogic goal to secure all 3 trophies without losing a single game? You may have seen that daunting photo on Twitter that shows you the squad just deteriorated. No one there, apart from a select few. We are going to look in this video at every player and where they have gone ever since. Now, of course, there's so many players to cover here, so let me tell you, we'll be flying through them as quickly as possible. If you do enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this, let me know. But where are they now? The 2016-17 Celtic squad. We'll start with the players who remain at the club. 33 players in the 2016-17 season were involved with playing games in either the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, and that is the 33 players we're going to focus on. The likes of Chris Commons didn't play a single minute. Christopher Ayer, he played 1 Champions League qualifier, that is all. So 33 players to go through, and from that 33, only 9 remain. The 9 being Anthony Ralston, Nir Beaton, Scott Brown, Ryan Christie, Callum McGregor, James Forrest, Mikey Johnson, Lee Griffiths and Jack Aitchison. Of course, as I said, many players have had loan spells out, some have went on to be here and be key parts of success in the following seasons, but those are the only 9. You wouldn't have imagined it back in 2017 that the squad would have changed that much. It's crazy. Well done to the 9 who have stayed, I suppose. Craig Gordon, the goalkeeper for the 2016-17 league season, now gone from Celtic after leaving at the start of this year's transfer window, returning to his boyhood club of Hearts in the Scottish Championship. He decided without first team football there was no point of him to stay at Celtic for the twilight of his career, so he's gone now, back to the team he started with, and the best of success to Craig Gordon, a man who served Celtic very well with his time at the club. Doris de Vries, probably somewhere in Amsterdam living it up the red light district. I'm joking, he's probably not, because he left Celtic at the end of the 2018-19 season to hang up his boots from football. A man who came to Celtic intended to be the first team keeper, but sadly wasn't good enough. But he stayed as the backup until the end of his career, and now he's away studying his coaching badges to perhaps become a goalkeeping coach, a first team coach somewhere else in the future. Maybe he'll come back to Celtic one day, who knows. Logan Bailey. There's a name that'll come up for you in a pub quiz one day. A man who rarely appeared for Celtic, brought in by Ronnie Dyer in 2015. He left Celtic at the end of 2016-17. He took a move back to his home country of Belgium, where he now finds himself playing for Namur FLV. So he's not really had an exciting career past Celtic, but I suppose it wasn't that exciting for him at Celtic. Kolo Toure, what a man he was at the club. He obviously retired at the end of the Invincibles season, became a first team coach at Celtic alongside Brendan Rodgers and Chris Davies, and now finds himself as a coach staff at Leicester City with Brendan and Chris as well, which is a shame, but the less said the better. Emilio Izagirre, oh god, this is a story, you know it fine well. He left at the end of the Invincibles season, went to Saudi Arabia. Where did he end up? Back at Celtic. Yep, we had him again for a year, but now he is back over in his home country of Honduras, where he's playing for, I believe, the team being called Matagua? That might be it. Anyway, he's back over in his home country, probably living his best life with his family. An absolute hero in the eyes of Celtic fans, but I think his time at Celtic is finally done. Efe Ambrose, I'll never forget the flip on the final day of the season and what turned out to be his final appearance as a Celtic man, a man in a Celtic jersey. He went on loan to Hibs the following year, then he ended up signing for Hibs permanently, and now he finds himself at Livingston, where, you know, he's doing quite well for himself, a player in the first team there every week. He had a brief spell at Derby County as well, which was weird, but still kicking about Scotland. We'll never get rid of him. An absolute cult hero in Efe Ambrose. Jozo Simunovic, he's just decided, you know what, I'm going to take an extended summer holiday. Man's still not signed for a club since leaving Celtic at the end of last season. Don't know if he'll ever decide to sign for a club, but the league campaigns are starting up, big man, you better hurry up. A chance for him to relaunch his career somewhere, a man who did serve Celtic quite well, but right now finds himself a free agent. Christian Gamboa, oh god, remember the free Gamboa stuff when he was just never getting a game? He ended up leaving Celtic at the end of the 2018-19 season and signed for German Bundesliga 2 side, or Bundesliga's 5 side, Bochum, where he's now went on to make 26 appearances. A man who never really took off at Celtic and probably wasn't good enough, but fair play to him, he's forging on with his career. Dedrick Boyata, the bomb scare himself, what a career he's went on to have now that he's left Celtic, joining Hertha Berlin at the start of the 2019-20 campaign, where he's went on to be a first team regular in the Bundesliga and been praised quite heavily from Hertha fans. 28 appearances, 4 goals, big man's doing well for himself, but trust me, he can make a good mistake. Mikael Lustig, one of the greatest players we've seen all decade at Celtic, an absolute hero, a man who would die for the badge. He left, obviously, at the start of the 2019-20 campaign, where he joined Belgian side Ghent, finishing runners-up in the league table. Not a bad run at all, but he did leave Ghent and has now returned back to his home country in Sweden to join AIK, a team we know very well from the European qualifiers over the past year or so. So hopefully we cross paths with him again, because what a man, the Tash, oh, what a legend. Eric Sviatchenko, a man who I absolutely adored. If you've been around the channel long enough, you will know how much I loved Eric Sviatchenko and how much I didn't want Celtic to get rid of him. But you know what, we did. He went and returned back to his home country, initially on loan and then permanently while Brendan Rodgers was still in charge of the club, where he's enjoying his career probably better over there than what he was here. A man who still talks about his love for Celtic, but he's went back over to Denmark and won 2 Danish Superliga titles and a Danish Cup with the team that we signed him from in Midtjylland, and fair play to him. Big man's done well for himself. Hope he's loving life, deserves it. Owen O'Connell, a player who had so much promise and potential when he started out with Celtic. I was excited to see what he'd do, but never really got the chance. He left the club at the end of the Invincibles season and joined Bury, where he stayed for 2 years and finished runner-up in League 2 after making 43 appearances. He now finds himself at Rochdale. Why did I say that so weird? Rochdale, that's it, innit? Where he's made 23 appearances and enjoying life in League 1. A player who I wish got more of a chance at Celtic after scoring a screamer against Leicester, if you remember. Jamie McCart, you might actually be thinking to yourself, did he actually play? Yes, he made 1 league appearance for Celtic in the Invincibles season, but ever since, done nothing. Generally done nothing at Celtic. Left in 2018, where he then went on to join Inverness, played there in the Championship for a wee while. Now he's at St Johnstone and he's actually a starter under Callum Davidson. He's made 5 starts so far in the Premiership this season, hoping to take his career to further heights, but will he get there? Don't quite know. Will he ever meet Celtic again? Probably doubt it. Calvin Miller, another man who's decided, you know what, I'm going to take a longer summer holiday. He's not signed for a club yet after being released by Celtic at the start of the season or the end of last season. Enjoyed loan spells at Dundee and Ayr United before his time at Celtic came to a close, but just another player who never really filled the potential that he could have at Celtic. Converted from a winger to a fullback, probably not what was in his mind, but now he's gone. We'll see where his career takes him. Best of luck to Calvin Miller. Kieran Tierney, what has to be said about this beautiful man? Sadly leaving Celtic at the start of the 2019-20 campaign to join Arsenal. He's went on to light things up in recent months, going on to show that he's perhaps the best fullback in Britain. The man's won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield the other day with Arsenal, and I'm sure he's going to do much more after spending a lot of time in the sidelines injured and after surrounding himself with many different scenarios that could have ended his career perhaps, as we heard an open goal. The man has went on to just be an absolute boss, and fair play to him. Hopefully it continues for the wee man down there, and we'll soon see, but I suspect that it's going to go incredibly well. The player of the season, Scott Sinclair. He was the player of the season 2016-17, and what a career he had at Celtic. It came to an end, sadly, when Neil Lennon was appointed as manager. There was no really a place for him in the squad, and he left in the January window of 2020, where he went to join Preston and Alex Neil down in the Championship in England, where he went on to finish 9th. Not a bad season for them, and he's probably hoping to maybe go for a playoff run this year. He's made 18 appearances so far, scoring 3 goals. A player who would light up any team, so entertaining to watch. I miss him. I really do. Stuart Armstrong. If there's anything I miss about this man, it's the chant that came with him. It was easily the best chant in football when he was with Celtic, but left for a decent fee at the start of the 18-19 campaign, and what can I say? He's lit it up for Southampton in recent times. It started slow, but he pulled it back, and with that Southampton team who'd done incredibly well under Ralph Hasenhüttl, in the later part of last year, he was one of the key men in there, and he's really helped transform that team from what looked a nightmare. I mean, remember when they were battered off Leicester? You know, you never thought it could have got that well for them. But Armstrong's been one of the key players in that, and fans are loving him. Scotland international, as we know. I would happily take him back at Celtic, but for some reason, I think those days are gone. Gary Mackay-Steven, that's another player that I keep forgetting actually played for Celtic. Wasn't quite the quality we needed after his time at Celtic was over at the end of the 16-17 campaign. He joined Aberdeen, where he spent 2 years. He also fell on the Kelvin. Let's not forget that. He fell on the Kelvin. That was a headline that day. And now he finds himself over in the US at the MLS, rejoined by Ronnie Deila. Yep, big Ronnie Deila and Gary Mackay-Steven are back together. You couldn't write it. Oh, Ronnie. I miss Ronnie. Tom Rogic. Now, I could be making this video assuming that his move to Qatar is almost complete, and then there could be a complete U-turn. He could stay at Celtic. He might remain here for what could be the 10-in-a-row season. But by all accounts, it looks done. It looks as though he will be leaving the club, a man who has been electric, the Wizard of Oz, rightly nicknamed. Off to Qatar it seems, but I mean, we'll always miss him. What a guy, he's been here a long time now. Patrick Roberts, he was on loan of course that whole season and then returned to Celtic on loan the following year, but ever since, he's really not hit the heights you would have expected him to. He scored no professional goals since leaving Celtic. Loan spells at Girona in Spain, Norwich in the Premier League, and now Middlesbrough in the Championship have left quite a disappointing mark on someone who had so much promise, and perhaps down to injuries, who knows. People calling for him to come back to Celtic, we'll soon see, but it's not really went his way. The Manchester City player looking to rejuvenise that career that had so much promise. Where will he do it? I don't know, but it's been disappointing for the wee man, I would say. Liam Henderson, after returning off the back of a Scottish Cup win with Hibs the season prior, he came into the Invincibles season, made 10 appearances, and then decided that his time at Celtic was over. Well, not so much him, but it was over in Brendan Rodgers' eyes. He left in the 17-18 campaign, where he took his career somewhere that Scotsmen would never usually bother, and him himself has been enjoying life in the Mediterranean, the wee man. Starting off at Bari in the Serie B, he went to Hellas Verona after that, and now finds himself at Empoli on loan. The man has been loving life in Italy, and you know what, fair play. Not a lot of players from Scotland have the cojones to go abroad or overseas and try and take their game there, but he's done it, and people have been giving him good write-ups. The wee man's doing well. I wonder if he'll ever return back to Scotland, or if he's just got to deal with the sun, sea and tobacco until the end of his career. Abui Kouassi. Why Brendan Rodgers and Lee Congerton thought this was a good idea, I will never know. Signed in the January of the Invincible season, he played 12 times for Celtic since, after spending about £3.5 million on him. He went to Genk on loan in the 1920 season and now has signed on a permanent deal. We lost out big time in a player we spent decent money on. Finished 7th last year in the Belgian Premier League with the Belgian side, and he'll be hoping to show people that he does have footballing ability. I still doubt he has it. Nadir Chifchi, oh my god, we actually did have Nadir Chifchi at Celtic. Potentially the worst player I've ever seen put the hoops on. If you think there's any hope in hell I'm pronouncing those two sides that he has played for since leaving Celtic in 2018, you have got another thing coming. But the man done well. The first side he was at, Gen Clare Biriglu something, he got 11 goals inside 30 games. I mean, that's more goals than he scored combined of his loan moves where he was at Celtic. Yep, and he played at 4 different clubs on loan. Madness, isn't it? He was there for the 2018-19 season, 19-20 season also, but now finds himself moving on, where he'll be hoping to continue up scoring some goals. I mean, he's now back in his home country. He has a good chance to do it. Let's see if he can. And finally, we've got there Moussa Dembele. Do I really need to say anything about this guy? You know my feelings about this guy. Absolutely incredible footballer. He left Celtic for a record fee of around £21 million at the end of the 2017-18 season. He joined Lyon in Ligue 1 over in France, and my god, what a career he's had over there since. 60 games, 31 goals, 10 assists since leaving to join for one of the best teams in the country, a Champions League semi-finalist. Single-handedly packed Pep Guardiola's Manchester City out their backside in the quarterfinals of the 1920 competition. He's making a name for himself. He's getting linked with £50 moves. Oh god, that's but £50 million moves to the likes of Man United and even Barcelona. He is going to go on to have a big career and easily the best player we had in that 16-17 season in terms of on the park quality. What a player. I wish we could see him at Celtic again one day, but I have a feeling he'll be living it up with the likes of Zidane and such penthouses in Paris. Oh man, what a legend. Well, that was a lot, but that's it over. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. A lot has went into this. I feel out of breath. I'm now going to go lie bed, pretend nothing happened. Like, subscribe as I said, and I'll see you all next time.